Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satgurum Pranatosmyaham. We are on the last section, which is the man of steady wisdom. And we have concluded that you see your complex, your body-mind complex is governed by laws, and it looks like and it thinks like in different ways. So according to your punyam and papam, so you cannot expect for every single human being, every body and the mind, which is a product of punyam and papam, to act exactly the same. So we cannot expect a wise, a man of steady wisdom, a sthitta prajnaha, you cannot expect that one to carry themselves exactly the same as everyone else. This is because everyone is born with a different mixture of punyam and papam. Okay? Therefore, what does this mean? We need to release this notion that the man of steady or woman of steady wisdom has a certain thing that you can find in them and use that as a marker to identify. Everyone will have a different personality. Some are they're very active in the world. Some will build hospitals for others. Some will be quiet. Some will have a families. Others will continue to work. The rest will go to some secluded place. So this is the reality of how it is, because at the level of your body and mind, it is a different body-mind complex. At the level of understanding, it is the same understanding across all forms. So you cannot find suddenly Indians only are enlightened or Caucasians are only enlightened. And this is the notion that we all carry. Let's go to India because that's where the wise people live. You see? So this is not the case. They are everywhere. They are the neighbor. They are your friend. They are the person on the street, in the bus. They are everywhere. And the wise person doesn't have a need to say, I am wise, because it is who you are. You don't claim, if you're a female, you don't say I'm a female. It's obvious. You never claim what's obvious. We only claim what's relatively new. Suppose you just got your certificate and you've gotten, you worked for it for 10 years and you've gained something new for the first time. Notice how we have this intense desire to share it. Hey, I've gotten this certificate. And then others are like, wow, congratulations. Therefore, you don't gain something new. If that is the case, then where's the question of claiming one's wisdom to be a wise person? And what? Even if, suppose, Buddha or Jesus came down, what can you possibly now ask them? What do you want from their mouth to come out? Tell me. What would they possibly say that will fascinate you? Because we discussed the universe, the creation of the universe, the cause of the universe. We discussed the nature of the individual, the 5 koshas. We discussed the nature of the substance, which is all that is, which is also this wise person. What possibly have we not asked? We discussed the different worlds. We discussed why everyone comes with different bodies and different minds because of your past causes. That's the efficient cause. We discussed the material cause, which is the 5 elements. We have discussed, and we are now discussing, the attributes of a wise person. So what is there left to ask? Am I enlightened? That's a fair question. That's a common question. How do I know if I am liberated? Yeah, how do I know, generally? I mean, let's go with how do I become, this is the process. This is how. The 10 days has been about how to. But suppose now you ask follow-up, how do I know that the knowledge has taken place? And the answer is, you see, like any doubt, when the doubt is removed, you just don't have a doubt anymore. It's simple as that. Now, there may be residual doubts, of course, but that's the case with anything, because of your mind still covering and producing stories that maybe there's potentially some maybe discrepancy in my understanding. I was exactly the same when years ago when the knowledge became clear. I still had a need to kind of have this innocent conversation, but not let my teacher know exactly that I'm asking, because I was shy. Because I've heard other teachers say a wise person never asks, whether they are liberated. Okay, so I was like, I don't want to kind of appear like that, but I made it. But I just wanted like confirmation, and so you can see how these intellectual notions still keep on operating and making you doubt, because you genuinely want to go all the way. You don't want to play around. You want to, you recognize the implications of moksha, and you want to make sure. So I had the need to, I think about three times I asked, right, to two of my teachers. And it was, so what happened? I came out, this is my understanding. Remember the student, how he approached the teacher? He said, the jaws of samsara have clamped upon me, and I want a way out. I do not know how to come out. So this is how one approaches a teacher. They don't just approach, but they state the problem. They state what they're going through, and they state their understanding. And that lets the teacher know where you're at. Because when you open your mouth, right, things become clear instantly where you're at. Because we give our mind away through our speech. So like this, I said what I understand. They confirmed it. Then again, next retreat, I said what I understand. They confirmed it. Again, now, of course, the doubt is way, more removed. And again, another retreat, I said what I understand it. They confirmed. And slowly like this, through some time, it's totally clear. There's no doubts. And again and again and again, you can keep on asking. The answer is exactly the same. You see, so you're working with someone that's already figured it out. That's how this parampara works, this tradition. Otherwise, who we're going to ask? Because I don't know if my colleague has figured it out. And what you do know for certain is you really care about your journey. You really want to go all the way. You don't want to kind of accidentally find out, oh, I thought I figured it out, but now 20 years later, now that I've heard something else because of the science has come out, new discoveries have come out, and now I find that all of that was redundant. You don't want to be in that place. So naturally, you would want to take care of your understanding. And that is why exactly we have these 4 gradations of a Jivan Mukta. So this is very important because it really lets you know how nuanced it is. There's no question of finality. There is a final, of course, understanding. But even then, it's so subtle the way people operate and they speak. And sometimes even if somebody speaks, because in that early stage of Brahmavid, very early stage, the teacher even misinterprets. No, just there's more way, you need to understand. But you actually understand. That can also happen. Now suppose the teacher says, listen more, but you're absolutely certain that you've understood, but because you're in the early stages of Brahmavid, the person takes offense to that and they never come back. Because they're like, teachers should be compassionate, caring, and they should know where I'm operating from. And so one little, accidental, insensitive response, like, no, come back and listen, just keep your head down and keep on learning. That becomes offensive to the student and they don't come back. They were with you for 1 whole year. One small expression of care. From your standpoint, it's expression of care, strictness. From their standpoint, it's an expression of dismissiveness or writing one off. And they don't come back. I see this in my online classes actually. I'm like, hey, I thought this person was invested in this knowledge. I say something to be, strict and clear, I never see them again. That's how complex the human psychology can be. And we're basically more or less all, we have this potential, right, to say, no, this happened, I'm moving on. So it's never this black or white thing. Like you sit down, knowledge takes place, and everything's lovely, roses in the air, fireworks, and everything's honeymoon, and your life is just working from then on. And then other cases I have where usually in their 20s, where life is not working, they still don't have their finances up to scratch, and there's pressure under the societal standards that they need to perform, and they write to me and say, all I want is moksha. Of course, telling me about their problems, but all I want is moksha. I'm dying for moksha. Like Viveka Chudamani, he went to his guru and he asked, I need some money to help my parents. Not Viveka Chudamani, Swami Vivekananda. I went to my parents, I want to help them, guru. And the guru told Vivekananda, go into the temple and pray. And Vivekananda goes to the temple, and because his propensity is so strong for the knowledge, instead of praying for money, he prayed for self-knowledge. You see, it's like so powerful. So now, some might take this example and say, here I am, I don't have the finances, all I want is a self-knowledge. And I say to them, look, you're in the same situation as Arjuna was. However, there's one big difference. Arjuna figured out the discrepancy or the doshas, the limitations of living, as you have equally. But what's the big difference between your case and Arjuna's case? Arjuna was in the peak of his career. He was a successful, rich, wealthy, prosperous, resourceful warrior. Having attained much in his life and having gone through his work environment and studies and was very rich, after all of that, he then discovered the doshas, the limitations of living. And by that virtue, he was ready to learn the knowledge of the Gita. Whereas in this case that I speak of, you're telling me about your finances and pressures of the society and parents, and you want self-knowledge. So what's the difference here? You're using self-knowledge as an escape. That means self-knowledge for you is the ultimate means by which you get away from all these problems, which tells me immediately you're imagining that once this knowledge takes place, everything gets corrected automatically. But during this course, we've recognized that this knowledge takes place. You don't gain anything new. You've already had it all along. But at the empirical level, the person still has many more years to live. They still have to need to take care of their health. They still have societal pressures. You still got your prarabdha karma constantly flowing, throwing you new chances, new opportunities, new challenges in life. And then parents get old, and now that becomes another challenge. You have to now take care of them naturally. It doesn't stop. What has all of that moksha done for you at the empirical level? Like nothing. At the empirical level, nothing. So at the empirical level, of course, it's done a lot because of composure, and you're not so concerned about 10,000 different things anymore. So it's done a lot at the same time. But in terms of the pressures that you still have to accomplish, you still have to do that. Okay? And as I said before, moksha does help you with everything because you're a lot more free to think, a lot more free to express yourself, and your direction is clear now. Before, my directions were everywhere. I have to be here. And this whole thing of missing out, this is a big thing today. If I'm there, I'm not there. I feel like I'm missing out, like I want to be in two places at the same time. This is a big bother for most people. So this also goes away because all that is here is Ishvara, and all I'm going to find over there is more Ishvara.
They call it FOMO.
FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
Yes, this is it.
I have a new disease, JOMO, the joy of missing out.
And JOMO, joy of missing out, yeah. Or KOMO, contentment of missing out, okay? So it's a big relief actually, and the irony is then you're able to actually perform your empirical duties a lot cleaner. Okay, now Jivan Mukta's fullness is continuous. Verse 84. Yasya stita bhavet prajna yasya anandaha nirantaraha prapanchaha vismrta prayaha sa jivan muktaha ishyate. Now, if you read this on your own, it's very easy to look at this last statement. The world is more or less forgotten. And Ananda is continuous. So let me first cover whose knowledge is clear. Yasya stita bhavet prajna. Okay. So if your knowledge is clear in reference to realities, let me put the opposite question. Suppose your knowledge is not clear. You don't know what to do. You do not know proper conduct. You do not know the full story. For you, it all seems random, like I'm being punished by some anthropomorphic god up there, and the rest of you are being, are getting your way. And look at this, even more so. Suppose that you engage in dharma, and you're a follower, you do the right thing, and you care about doing the right thing. You will try to minimize damage and cutting corners as much as possible. And I see people around me who are not doing that, and they're getting their way. They seem to be enjoying a lot. They seem to be getting instantaneous results. And I'll start to compare myself. And I say, so see, if there was a real God, if God really existed, this would have not happened, because this is clearly unfair. I am doing all I can my whole life. They're not. And I'm the one who gets punished and who suffers. And they're just, selling illegal things and cutting corners and using, covert techniques. So where's God here? This is an unfair order. This is the first problem. If I do not know that there is an Ishvara who never fails, that there is an infallible order which never fails. Because from my standpoint, I think they're actually getting away with it. But if you look at the long picture, no one gets away with it. They may have been getting away with it now, but you wait 10, 20, 30, a lifetime later, all that comes back. The second problem is, then I see the world and I say, the world is, going through a hard time. And if God was really omnipotent, he would have never allowed all this to go on. Right? Why would he allow, these innocent people to get, punished and, to be injured? So I say, therefore, there is no God. Or I say, therefore, God must be weak. Because if God cannot take care of the business here on earth, who cannot put and bring these things to order, then why should I? If the omniscient, omnipresent one cannot do it, why should I? So you can see immediately how when I don't have the right understanding, when I don't have clarity, what happens to one's thoughts and one's behavior. So one becomes a passive observer, looking and saying, I don't care, this is your business, I don't need to participate anymore because I've been working my whole life very hard, I've gotten nothing, and the rest of them have been cheating, getting everything, I give up. And when one gives up, then now they start to collect papam. And they start to go down the journey. But in actuality, the way the system works is this is a completely just system here. There's no injustice. From our standpoint, it looks like injustice because we only have limited information. We don't see the full picture. But when you connect all the causes, you have no idea what happens to the trajectory of that traveler in the long picture. So taking this on board, you recognize, yes, the Lord, all that is here is the Lord. And things don't seem to be in order. There seems to be a lot of violence, a lot of disrespect and so on. Partisan, today it's more like this United States, in sometimes. So how did this happen? And then you have groups who are forming their kind of circle. And the more they speak and endorse their group, the more it produces an opposing side. So now it makes every follower in that group form a certain amount of dislike and hatred for another religion or another group. So you add all this and you say, where is God? How could he allow all this to happen? But the truth is, God is not an anthropomorphic being with likes and dislikes who says, I'm just going to let them all suffer now and let them go through this pain. This is a wrong understanding of Ishvara. Ishvara is all knowledge, all power, which is offering itself in a form of laws and orders and objects. And those objects are interfacing according to the needs of their personal needs. Now, every object, every jiva is infused with this program called ethics. You don't have to learn ethics. It's there. I don't want to hurt myself and I don't want to hurt you. It's there. Now, the reason that program of ethics gets covered is not because the Lord is covering it up. It's because if you take this creation and understand it through a cyclical method, you have been taking your impressions into this life. Which is why you can have two kids born in the same family. One of them gets attracted to the wrong side of town. The other one remains a goody. Okay? So now where does this come from? If they both have been told the same information, the same parents, the same opportunities, where did this propensity for non-ethical behavior, where did it come from? Where did those naughty kids come from? Not only parents, of course, but also your karma. And then on top of that, now you get born with that karma, and then you start to attract other social children who also have the same, they say birds of the same feather flock together. So now you have the same birds flocking together. And they reinforce each other's behavior. This is cool. This is the right thing to be done. And now I have social proof that this is what gives me attention. This is what gives me love and validation. And then by the time they're 15 or 16, now it's just imprinted and ingrained. But all throughout that, there's a system that is, helping them slowly, helping them see that this is not the right thing to be done. Now, depending on how strong those impressions are, determines whether the person, how deep they go inside this, rabbit hole. Which is why, if I look at in Australia, look at Melbourne, we have what's called a problem with the youth gangs. Okay, and it's said about 70% of those who get caught. The repeat offenders are around 70%. So this means even though they have gotten the warning by the police force, which is Ishvara in the form of police, they've gotten the warning and they were told this is not the right thing to do, the impression, that pressure to go out, because that's their way of receiving attention, of receiving that unity, of that love. That's the way of collapsing that seeker for a moment so they can get in touch with the Anandamaya Kosha. That's why they call it the thrill of being chased by the police. And so they keep on repeating. Now some kids stop, other kids don't. So there is no real solution if you think about it. There's no real one-off solution that works for all. Now, of course, if you impose a certain amount of rules that kids will go to a prison when they're 13 or 14, now you create a disadvantage. Because what about those who do get a warning and that changes their life positively? I was kind of like that, by the way. I used to love stealing when I was little. So, me and my brother, we were experts at stealing. So we would always walk out with a big jacket he would steal books and I would steal electronics. And this went on, and computer books. And this, even to libraries. So we go to the library, we just steal so many books from the library. And my justification was, what? The government taxes my parents. I'm going to steal back from the government. You see? And this to me was completely reasonable. That means it was needed to override that program that this is the wrong thing to be done. Until one day, my mom used to clean the house without my permission or without our permission, and she just used to reshuffle everything. And one day I came back from school, and I used to put these books, and then everything, all the electronics are underneath those books. So from the top of the shelf, you see nothing. So she found this, and one day they presented all of these stolen gadgets. On my side was electronics and computer books. On his side was Star Wars books. And this was a big circle, a big circle, half of circle. His, half a circle mine. So he sat on his side, I sat on my side, and parents were there. And I said, "What's this?" I wanted to die in that moment because I was so, torn. I was so with shame. That's the emotion. And so after 3 years of stealing, because of that moment, because I felt so shameful for being exposed, I never did that again. Now, not all kids would have that. They would say, "No, it's a story. My friends gave this to me, But it worked. So again, you cannot ever tell what works or not, but you have to just keep trying. So there's no real way, there's no standardized system how to keep the society at bay. In the 1960s, what happened was the New York towers were being, new towers were being built. And I think it was a little bit earlier, but around that time. And there were a lot of homeless people. So the municipality decided to build buildings several stories high so that these homeless people can move in and give them a better home. Okay, you're on the street and now you're in the apartment. Minimum money, so I think it was free. So suppose you're now the government and this is your plan and you want to do good for the society. Now what happened was, because those homeless individuals were together, they had community. They had a sense of shared community. And when they all got in that home and they moved in, the crime increased. Because now they had no one to talk to, their pressures had nowhere to go out, and they started to project it onto the society, and the crime increased up. Things did not get better. You see how complex, this whole thing of society is at a collective level? And so we think, I'm now going to go out there and save the world. But when you save the world, you create other unseen causes because we just cannot account. Which is why in the Veda we say all that is here is perfect order. This is how things are supposed to be. And these things, however they are right now, is constantly changing. How it will be in 100 years will be different than how it is today. But it will be a product of the collective inputs of every individual that we invest inside this Kurukshetra field, in this field of action. So now, coming to this place that I can't really save the world, what do? I come to see the state of the affairs. The state of the affairs is that I didn't really come here to save the world, I came here to save myself. That's the real purpose of planet Earth. Because you've already been traveling and saving the world for many lifetimes, but I'm still here because I forgot about myself, just like the 10th man story. So one life you have to say, it's not, my teacher calls this enlightened self-interest. It is self-interest, but it is for the higher good. It is for the good of that which you were meant to accomplish all along. Enlightened self-interest. So now, the one whose knowledge is clear, it means that they recognize these differences, the nature of life being dvandva. If you get praised, it equally means you can get criticized. If you are if you have happiness, it equally means you can have sorrow. So having my knowledge clear, it means that I welcome sorrow, I welcome criticism, I welcome harshness, I welcome all those things in life that we avoid. Like in chapter 11, when Arjun was shown beauty of life, happiness and vastness and beauty and love, and he was enjoying all the things of life until Krishna showed him the nature of Dvandva. And he showed him unhappiness and death and decay and disease and crime and violence and cheating and, within one's own family and lying and being dishonest. That's the nature of things. And Arjuna couldn't handle it. So he said, stop, I cannot handle this. My mind is not refined yet to accept the Dvandva nature of the world. And yet, that's the nature of the world. So we have to really accept this Dvandva. That's part of maturity, accepting that the world is meant to bring two things to you. One is punyam and one is papam. That's how it is. And the faster one acknowledges that, the more they relinquish this idea how life is supposed to be. In fact, there's a great strength when you can finally say, life, I know what you're about. I know what you're about. I'm ready. I'm ready. Bring me a separation. Bring me a divorce. Bring me togetherness. Bring me health. Bring me disease. When you prepare yourself before it happens, that is of itself strength. Because now when it actually happens, you will be able to handle it with much more composure. And of course, no more burdensome notion to save the world, as I said. And then Ananda is continuous. Yasya Anandaha Nirantaraha. Okay, so Ananda is continuous. Another potential misinterpretation of a wise person. We don't mean emotional Ananda because emotions never last. So it cannot be referring to a state of mind. It must be referring to something else. What do you think?
Nature of self.
Nature of self.
The knowledge of the nature of the self. Nature of the self. That means I recognize at all times that I cannot find true joy in objects, though it's nice if you do, but the very nature, the very source of joy, like that sugarcane, I am sweetness. Knowing that you are the very sweetness, that reassurance, that security of that knowledge becomes your Ananda. The security of knowing you are already full, whole, and complete. You are missing nothing. You're the very substratum of the universe. That is where the wise person gains his or her Ananda. Not in emotions, that's not possible. Another benefit is that, you see, this anguish of improvement. I mean, self-improvement is, lovely, and we all went through this stage. But this idea that I have to become a better person, how can you have Ananda in that kind of a mode? Because there's always a better person to become. Yeah. So, on one hand, it's lovely that you can become better. On the other hand, one has to recognize that I'm not becoming better for the sake of me becoming bigger. My body mind is becoming better to give more to the world. Loka sangraha, to contribute more to the world. So, though the jnani also continues, their body mind continues self-improvement, it's not for the sake of becoming a better me. I'm already full, whole, and complete. Rather, for loka sangraha, just optimizing. If you want to learn some skill, then go ahead and do that. And for this reason, they have a continuous recognition that I am already complete. And amidst that recognition, you still continue to, as though complete yourself, but it's not yourself that you're completing, you're just naturally working on your body and mind. So it's okay. It's okay to continue working on your system when the knowledge takes place. And then the world is more or less forgotten. another potential misinterpretation. So it doesn't mean amnesia, of course. It doesn't mean that they're oblivious to the world now. They don't know how it functions. It just means that you have more or less taken, right, you're relaxing in the fact that there's nothing really to worry about. There's nothing major to worry about. All those major worries that I have to become someone, and always putting focus on be this one, be that one, be that, be this, all of that settles down. So in that sense, the world and worldly accomplishments are more or less have subsided. It doesn't mean that your passion goes down. It just means that your focus, your priorities are a lot sharper now. That means I've forgotten about all those things that I wanted to do, go there and travel there and experience myself over there. And you look at 10 years later and you say, oh, I was supposed to do all this. Here's my bucket list of 100 items. And you look at this and you go, no, not much value here. And yet, once upon a time, that was the thing to do. So, in that sense, they are not emotionally invested in the outcome because you never know what might happen. You don't control the show. The show is governed by Ishvara's laws, which have started since millennia ago. And here I am, one little being who wants things to go my way. And when this being goes away, the world continues exactly as before, like you never even existed. Like you were just a leaf blown from a tree. Even when Michael Jackson or Steve Jobs died, yeah, there was grief for one day or two. Second day, you're cooking your food, you're continuing to work, nothing ever happened. Now that's them. Imagine, it's totally nothing happened. And see, this whole business of, saving the world, which is okay. See, our kids want to do this. This is sometimes what the children want to. They want to reach out and clean the forests and clean the oceans. This is a part of human maturity for everyone. And we all go through this stage. And it's absolutely okay. But at some point, you come to realize this whole scheme of this utopian scheme of saving and improving the world, of revolutionizing the society, you come to see that there are many revolutionists who have attempted this. And how long has their movement lasted? A moment of time, until things reverted back to their normal state of affairs. So I'm not saying now let's quit this, but I'm saying that at the same time, you understand that reshaping a society is not my job. Especially when you come to Vedanta. You're not being selfish. You're just saying, my real job is to see the presence of the Lord in all things. And in that seeing, you end up affecting people, family, those who you contact. You bring someone on a bike ride, you bring them over. Okay? So you meet someone, and that's how it is. Just small circle of influence that you have, you end up affecting. Otherwise, it doesn't have to be these big, grandiose things. And what would a wise person do after they are, after they know their nature? What would they do? Exactly what they've been doing before, according to their prarabdha karma, their personality and their traits. Nothing changes. If there was a business owner before, there's still a business owner now. If there was a mother before, there's still a mother now. It's that simple. So you don't lose anything, you only gain clarity and the pressure of having to accomplish and be this, incredible person that the society tells us that you have to attach titles onto yourself. Mr. PhD, bachelor, PhD, keep on adding titles, please.
Master,
M.A.
Professor.
Yeah, so title, name. And only now I feel like some worthy human being. What about just calling yourself name? Simple. Now, of course, in the culture here in India, it's, I believe, a big thing. You know, you always follow a name, precede the name with a title. So that's okay. That's a cultural thing. Otherwise, can you be okay without a title? Without a title. Yeah. Because title is just, you know, sometimes becomes an identity issue. And then they say, you know, you need to accept yourself. That's the most important thing. Accept yourself. And here you are still in the self-help world, and you're trying to accept this limited self, which can never be accepted because it's going to be different tomorrow. So the self that I've accepted yesterday is a different self today because the ahamkara is always expanding and contracting, and you find out it doesn't work. So this whole pressure of having to become someone, be better, be smarter, be more recognized, be more, you know, out there, it's a huge pressure. It falls down. It just falls down. You now become a very simple person. And in that simplicity, no wonder it says Ananda is continuous. Because the pressure has fallen off of having to become someone.
So there is a natural clean-up, though, with the knowledge if prior actions were driven by those worldly passions, for example. So, you understand what I'm saying? So you were saying before knowledge you're doing this, after knowledge you continue, but I'm saying I think there is a natural clean-up of some of those actions if they were driven by...
Yes, a natural refinement, a natural, you know, calming down, and definitely. Because why? Because now, before there was someone to gain something, yeah? But what is there to gain? You see, you only want to show yourself with a title when there's something to gain out of that. I want approval. I secretly want you to acknowledge me. So I'm going to now insert my title in there just to let you know, to get that right response from you so that I can feel that acceptance. This pressure has fallen off. Verse 85, furthermore, there's absence of I and my. Vartamane api dehe asmin chayavat anuvartini ahanta mamata abhavaha jivan muktasya lakshanam. The characteristic mark of a Jivan Mukta is the absence of I sense and my sense. For him, even while he remains in the body, which follows him like a shadow. Interesting imagery. So absence of I sense and my sense. This we have spoken about, that nothing's really yours here. You have earned this body. Ishvara has given you this body according to your punyam and papam. And this body, according to the Vedas and the mind, was given for one purpose alone. It is to figure out who you are. There's no other reason to be here. Every other thing that you have ever done was incidental. The primary was moksha. Everything just to gain moksha, just to go and travel, you meet people. Naturally. So you met people because you were only seeking for moksha. But what we do is we turn the people that we meet into the end of life. And they become our moksha. Mistake. It's like going to, on a train, and you want to go from here to... Where does a train go from here? From Mangalore to... Goa, right? Goa. Okay? And you get in this train, and the train stops on a first stop, and you get off, buy a drink, and start to talk to someone, and they invite you to the home, and they introduce a daughter, and you kind of like her, and then you marry her, and now Goa is that destination. That's where we have to go. That's the moksha. And then she says, I want children. Okay, I give you children. There you have children, and they go to school, and now you're old. Not so much energy is there anymore. And they have children of their own. And now you're a grandfather and a grandmother. And then you go, oh, wait. Something's missing in my life. I've gotten everything that I've wanted. I've gotten this and this, but what was my real purpose here? Oh, I need to discover something bigger than the kids, than the children, than work, than all of these things. Not that anything's wrong with them, but my journey was towards Goa all along, since beginningless time. And then I remembered. And then when I got into the train, I died. But then the next stop, the train stopped, and then came through an assembly line a couple of bodies that were just escorted like, the conveyor belt bodies. And now those bodies were placed in the train cart, and then your subtle body entered one of those bodies, and you woke up. And you found yourself in the same train. Now again the train continued, and then again the train stopped, but some impression from you remembers, I think I'm going to stay in the train this time. Okay? And I'm going to hang out there. But now, when you go inside one of those train sections, you meet someone interesting. Now again, they're very beautiful. And then you repeat that story. And now you have children inside the train cart. Okay? Until one day, you just realize, I just want to spend time alone, by myself, and clarify the meaning of life. Remember my initial original purpose that was there calling me all this time. But like everyone else, I just saw you, and you offered me instant gratification, and I just wanted a relief from that sense of limitation. And so you were there for me as I was there for you, but I realized that was not the solution. The real solution was, it required some courage to temporarily pause worldly pleasures. It requires courage to say no thank you, I have a direction to go towards. And that courage allowed you to sit long enough until you gained clarity and you said, now let me go to that cart over there, there's some spiritual, weirdos over there, and I'm going to enter in that class. And there was a guru in that train cart, and saying, this cart is always going towards moksha, you just got temporarily sidetracked. Now let me show you, enjoy yourself, sit down, let me show you the final path. The final path, gaining which, after you gain, you can get off that train as many times as you want. You're not ever coming back. So now you're truly free to be in this world. Now you can go back into the world and live your life fully. But you never ever can get entangled again. And that's a great journey to live. So you lose nothing. And so, like this, they recognize everything that I'm given, including my body, was never mine, thus I become a trustee. I am entrusted this body. Like I give my child to you and I say, please take care of it. And when you take care of him or her, you know the kind of responsibility that you have. Because I say, I'm going to be away for 20 days. And you're looking over the child. You're looking, what are they putting their finger inside the plug? Don't do that. What kind of material are they reading? What are they listening to? You say, don't listen to that, dear child. Don't listen. Don't play on the iPad, because you know it's going to contaminate them, and you want to preserve this pure being that you have been offered by Ishvara. And so, like this, you see that this person that is given is that very pure being. It just got a little bit rusty through some time because of all the things that you have come through. So now you take some scraper and you have to scrape the mind using different tools. And like this, see, this is important because when it says I sense and my sense, absence of that, does that mean that when the wise person recognizes I am everything, now they say, oh, the world is mine, therefore I can do whatever I want? Because this is negating that. And I've heard this notion before. The universe is in me, I can now do whatever I want. Again, you're putting yourself inside the body-mind. So this means there's still someone to gain. That's why they want to do anything they want. If you truly have recognized your nature, there's nothing to gain. So then why would I go out there and now expend myself for the sake of the pleasures of the body and mind? That means there's still a person in there who wants to gain that. But this is just an instrument. It was never you. It's not yours even now. Knowing this, if it's not mine, if it's Ishwara's, then what happens to the instrument? It's given for the sake of public benefit in small ways that you can. Public or loka sangraha. And that's the true, what we call surrender. In fact, your body was never yours to begin with. So when we say surrender, what we really mean is recognize your true nature, and this body is not yours. Even now, you're entrusted with it to be used responsibly. And because it's not yours, and the Jivan Mukta recognizes this body, thus, Chayavat Anuvartini, it follows him or her like a shadow. Whatever happens to the shadow, who steps on the shadow, they're not stepping on me. The shadow is always there, following for a short while longer. The body belongs to Maya's projection. This is their understanding. It doesn't belong to me. And so they continue to live and act according to their desire, according to the desires of the body, according to the prarabdha karma. But all throughout, I understand, like this pot, like the clay understands, this pot is following me, but I'm not the pot. For a short while longer, one day the pot will fall and it will break. That's called physical death. But the pot follows. Wherever there is a pot, that's where I am. So like this, the body follows you wherever you go. 86. Not concerned. Atita anusandhanam bhavishyat avicharanam audasinyam api prapte jivan muktasya lakshanam. Not recollecting the past with guilt or regret. The Jivan Mukta is not concerned about the future, and being dispassionate with reference to the present are the characteristics of the Jivan Mukta. Okay, so let's look at not recollecting the past with guilt or regret. To whom does guilt or regret belong to? To the 5 koshas. And what has all that guilt and regret taken you towards? Moksha. So it was worth it. It taught you what it means, the kind of person that I don't want to be, the kind of person that I do want to be, the kind of mistakes that I made, what is not the right conduct. It's taught you, and all that teaching has led you to freedom. Thus, knowing this, you no longer regret your past. Your past, as dysfunctional as it may have been, ended up being the greatest blessing. This is what we mean by there's only perfection in things. When you look at it from a big picture, everything that happened has given you the greatest teaching and connected you to the teacher and the teaching. So in that sense, you can let go of the idea of having done this and having committed this offense and that crime and being a clown, a sinner, a criminal, all of that. I have no more connection to any of that now. No more doubts about stealing and pulling hair and doing all these things to people. Okay. So this means it's a great relief because it becomes irrelevant. However naughty you were, whatever you were, it has no connection to you anymore. And secondly, it has led you here. Thereby, one can celebrate and say, thank you, naughty kid. Thank you, mischievous kid. Thank you, mistakes. Thank you for all of that, for sending me here. So in that sense, regret has no place anymore. Because regret means, I have done that, but I was never the doer.
Yeah, or the world has done this to me.
Or the world has, I'm the victim.
Yes, that's
Yeah. And even if the world has done that to me, thank you. Because that contributed.
Namaha.
Yeah, that contributed to my maturity. You see, sometimes when the world does something to you, have you ever come to a place to see that there was a blessing in the big picture? Absolutely. And that changed you, made you more cautious, more aware, more mindful, more deliberate. So there's nothing to regret. All those hurts, there's nothing to regret. And then not being concerned about the future. Why? Because the future is not governed by me. The future is well taken care of by the impersonal order, Ishvara. What will happen, and I will be there courageously to address whatever needs my attention. I will be ready for whatever life presents. So all you can do is just prepare yourself. Take that affirmation that I will be able to handle it. Because if I've been handling situations for the last 40 plus years, I can certainly handle what is to come. And I will find a way. So not concerned about the future. And dispassionate with reference to the present. Here we're talking about objectivity. Objectivity means... Now, what is objectivity for you? Objectivity or dispassion?
Seeing the rope, not the snake.
Seeing the reality as it truly is. Removing the coloring from something. So being more available to something that's calling my attention. Being more true to it. Responding more accurately to it. Because I'm not putting my stuff onto it. Okay.
Emotional charge.
Yeah, less emotionally impulsive. That's what you said. Okay. See, also, in the New Age movement, sometimes we use this word being in the now. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's actually a good statement because let's just look at this. How can you truly be... See, you can't be completely in the now, but you can be relatively in the now. Now, let me ask you this. Can you be in the now if my mind is constantly ruminating on being a victim and being hurt in the past? No. Can my mind be truly in the now if it's ruminating on concerns, what's going to happen, and how will things work out, and will I be able to make it, and what will happen when, how will my kids, get, how will they survive? No. So this means that dispassion really just means cleaning up your mind. Being in the now just means cleaning up your mind. Recognizing that the past had a place. It was an opportunity to learn. The future, I will be there, ready to address the future when it comes. When you allow that to be, the past is the past, the future is the future, what happens automatically? I am here in the now. Simple as that. And that here in the now is the New Age version of saying dispassion or objectivity. Because if I don't have objectivity, I'm either coloring it from the past or acting out of an agenda for the future. Therefore not being true to what requires a response. And thus in the Gita we call this having a mind of samatvam yoga uchyate, an equanimous mind, an undisturbed mind, and a mind that's available in the moment. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.